least my goal as a writer, is to use AI to assist me. So, what I use AI for in fiction writing is almost entirely idea generation, brainstorming, quick research. And one of my favorite things about AI is that you can ask it more complex questions than you can ask, for example, a search engine or your basic database of information. And so this is Jasper Chat that I'm in right now. It's based on the same software that runs Chat GPT, which has recently just blown up the popularity of AI writing in general. And so basically, I can just type whatever I want in this box here, as long as it's less than 4,000 characters. And Jasper's AI will read that and then respond. So I can ask questions, I can ask it to generate ideas or lists or basically anything I want, and it'll respond according to the vast amounts of research that it's done in the past. So I'm just going to scroll up a little bit and kind of show some of the examples that I used uh, that have to do with writing. The other day, I was writing a short comedy sketch, which is something that I started doing recently just for fun. And a friend of mine likes making short films and funny videos and things like that. And he sent me one that him and his friends made. And just watching it kind of gave me an idea for a sketch. So I wrote it and I sent it to him. And then I had another idea for one. So I wrote that and I sent it to him. And the second one that I wrote was kind of based around like a funny turn of phrase that modern people say. And so I got thinking to myself, maybe I could write other sketches about funny turns of phrase. And so I came into Jasper Chat here and I said, what are some silly modern turns of phrase that people say? And it gave me 5 silly turns of phrase. And then I said, give me 10 more. And it gave me 10 more. I haven't really done anything with these yet.
It looks like you're just having your fun with it. Right now, you're not really saying anything about trying to monetize this or anything like that. And hey, more power to you. We're talking about the ethics of this. There is no ethics involved. If you're just using the AI to have fun, just as like a hobby, or like you're just doing your fun little thing, like you say, you're doing your skits, your comedy bits with your friend or something like that to like entertain each other, that has nothing to do with ethics. The ethics of the ethics is just a legal thing. Ethics has to do with principles, and it's just that only applies when you're trying to monetize something. You're trying to do something, or it applies to your business.
Then here I kind of came into how you can use it to develop ideas for stories. And
Male
so the
pop
first thing I
stars from
asked it
Sri
was
Lanka.
to list the 10 most popular fiction genres, and it gave me this list. So I took the top 2, which are fantasy and romance, and I said, list the 10 most popular romance tropes. And if you're not familiar with romance writing, not all, but a lot of romance stories are based around a large group of existing tropes, which are just commonly used starting points for romantic stories or for different kinds of stories. Like there are also fantasy tropes and
Enemies to
sci-fi
lovers,
tropes and
baby.
so on.
Yeah.
But the genre that I see tropes focused on the most is in romance, and I think that's because there are a lot of romance tropes that people like to read a lot of books on. So a lot of people who read a lot of romance tend to like books and stories that are within a certain set of tropes that are the most appealing to them. And so I got a list of tropes here. And then I came down here and I said, write 5 one-sentence plot ideas for a fantasy romance novel using the enemies to lovers trope and the billionaire trope. And it did that. And then I noticed that it seemed like the AI was kind of getting confused about using 2 tropes at the same time. So I came down here and I just said, write 5 one-sentence plot ideas for a fantasy romance using the enemies to lovers tropes, and then I figured I could just make one of the I could just make one of the characters very wealthy, and then that would implement the billionaire trope alongside the enemies to lovers trope. And so I got these plot outlines. And then I just asked the AI, why is extreme wealth appealing to non-wealthy people? And it gave me a kind of an interesting response to that. And so that's another way that you can use AI writers, is that if you're trying to explore a character's motivation or a character's perspective, and you're having trouble getting into their head. For example, if you have a villain who does something bad and you're trying to give them a deeper motivation than just that they're evil or hateful or something, you want to give them a real reason for doing.
It's like you're bouncing ideas off of the AI. I would say the problem with the issue with that, well, for one, it's like uh, I, that I would kind of take issue with
What they're doing.
because it's almost like you're treating the AI like it's a writing buddy, which you know it kind of strikes me as odd a little bit. It would I would feel it's a little bit odd. Like I say, using it as glorified Google search, that's one thing. Like if you're looking up specific like trivial knowledge or information or something like that, but like asking it like complex like questions, like you would be like taught like you as if you were like asking a writing buddy for advice. I don't know, that kind of rubs me the wrong way. I don't know if I would be down with that. Because the reason for it, it's not just being dismissive. It's for good reason, and that reason being manipulation. Because you're taking what the AI you're taking what the AI says to heart. And it's like, why are you listening to the AI? Why are you caring about what the AI gives you for a response? Why not value what comes from your own imagination or comes from, a friend or a colleague or a peer? Because there's a relationship there, right? You're having a relationship with a real human being in that sense. And you're saying, hey, I got this character, and you're having a conversation, right? About a piece of work that you're creating. You're not having a conversation with AI. That doesn't that's like part of the it's sometimes it's not always about the end product. It's about the journey too. Like the artist's journey, like it's almost like I don't know how many times like I've come to the end or have been nearing the end of a project, and you kind of get that you start to kind of get that that post project depression, if you will. It's like, well, now what do I do? You know what I mean? Because then you start trying to like stretch it out and like, well, what if I change this? Or what if I did that? And what if I did this? To kind of stretch that project out a little bit longer than maybe necessary, but part of that process could also be sparking up conversation with people who are close to you, people in your peer group. You know what I mean? Like I said, your colleagues, other writers and stuff like that. And it inspires that type of conversation. It encourages that to have that kind of conversation with other human beings. And that's actually like part of the whole journey of that becomes a part of the whole journey of the project itself. And the more that you start to get away from that human element, you start leaning more onto this AI thing. Well, I mean, you're putting yourself in a position where I feel like, in my opinion, that you are more susceptible to manipulation by the AI, because it's already been shown that the AI can have what would otherwise be considered precognitive biases if it were coming from a human being. But it's generating these precognitive biases to, whether it be like if you ask it a politically, like if you ask the AI a politically charged question, well, the response may actually be may actually reflect a cognitive bias that an AI has no business having, right? So it has to come from somewhere. It's coming from a human being. So it's coming from the people who are pulling the strings. And that's something to be afraid of right there. Because the more that people start using this AI stuff, that's the real fear. The real fear is it's not the AI itself. It's the people who stop thinking for themselves and start leaning on this AI to do the thinking for them. And at that point, it's just the puppet master. You know what I mean? It's hop, skip, and a jump away from puppet master. You know, kind of like how we have today in our politically charged environment that we have today with social media. You can already see the puppet masters at play with technocrats and their algorithms. But I digress.